the tiny crowned one who hid her pain behind a smile. The hall was so large that sound behaved strangely inside it. Every step echoed twice, once near, once far, like the building itself was listening. The ceiling curved upward and disappeared into soft blue light. Tall figures filled the space, some with long limbs, some with shining skin, some floating slightly above the ground. They were the rulers, judges, and watchers of many worlds. At the very center of the hall stood a small platform. That was where the humans were told to stand. Compared to the others, the humans looked fragile. Their bodies were smaller. Their skin had no armor, no scales, no glow. They wore plain dark uniforms, clean but simple. Behind them stood guards from other worlds, holding weapons that hummed with quiet power. And at the front of the human group stood their ruler. She was small, much smaller than anyone expected. She wore a simple crown, thin and silver, resting gently on her head. It was not sharp or heavy. It did not shine much. It looked almost like a child's ornament. Her dark hair was tied back neatly. Her face was calm, and on her lips sat a soft smile. She looked young, too young, many thought. Whispers spread through the hall. "This is their leader? Is this a joke? Humans must be mocking us." Some laughed quietly. Others leaned forward, curious. A few grew angry, feeling insulted. Only one human stood close enough to notice the truth. Arlen stood half a step behind her, straight back despite his age. His hair was gray, his face marked by old scars. He had commanded fleets and watched stars burn. He had seen courage and fear many times. He saw her hands. They were hidden under her long sleeves, but he saw the slight shaking. He saw how her fingers pressed into her palm, as if she were holding something back. Pain. Memory. He did not know which. Maybe all of them. But her smile never changed. A tall figure stepped forward from the circle of delegates. Its voice filled the hall without effort. "Humanity," it said. "You stand before the conquered. You were invited to speak, to show your worth, and to request a place among us. Is this figure your chosen voice?" The small ruler lifted her head. Her eyes were steady. "Yes," she said. Her voice was gentle, but it carried. "I am." A ripple of reaction moved through the hall. The figure tilted its head. "State your name." She paused for a breath. "Just one." "I am Elia," she said. "I speak for Earth." More whispers, more doubt. Another delegate stepped forward, one with many eyes and a body like moving stone. "You wear a crown," it said, "but you bring no army into this hall. No display of power. Do humans not understand where they stand?" Elia's smile softened. "We understand," she said. "We chose not to threaten." That caused laughter. Low, echoing laughter from several sides. Arlen felt his jaw tighten. He wanted to speak. He wanted to shout. But he stayed silent. He had promised her. A sharp sound cut through the noise, an alarm. The light in the hall shifted from blue to pale white. Symbols appeared in the air, spinning slowly. The laughter died. A mechanical voice spoke. "Attention! Unidentified fleet detected at system edge. Trajectory direct. No registry match." The delegates reacted at once. Some rose higher. Others backed away. Guards moved into position. The first tall figure turned sharply. "This space is protected," it said. "No fleet enters without consent," the voice replied. "Fleet does not respond to warnings." Another alarm followed, deeper this time. Elia did not move. Arlen glanced at her. Her smile was still there, but now he saw something else in her eyes. Recognition. The stone-bodied delegate turned back to the humans.
Is this your doing? No, Elia said quickly. But I know them. That drew every gaze to her.
You know them? Demanded another voice. Elia nodded once. They are not here for the Concord. They are here for me. The hall erupted into noise. What does she mean? Explain yourself, human. This is unacceptable. Security fields snapped into place around the platform. The humans were enclosed in a soft, glowing barrier. Arlen felt his heart pound. Elia, he whispered, careful not to let the microphones catch it. You don't have to say more. She glanced at him briefly. The smile she gave him then was different. Smaller. Sadder. I do, she said quietly. She looked back at the delegates. Long before we came here, she said, before we asked to stand among the stars, we were found. Images appeared in the air without her touching anything. Dark shapes, cold rooms, stars seen through metal walls. We were studied, she continued. Measured. Tested. The delegates watched. Silent now. They wanted to know how much pain a human mind could hold, Elia said. How much fear. How much loss. Arlen closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the reports, the screams recorded and locked away, the names that never made it home. Elia's voice did not shake. Most of us broke, she said. Some died. Some forgot who they were. The images shifted. A small figure in a white room. Too small. Elia lifted her chin. I did not. The hall was still. A new symbol flashed red. Incoming transmission, the system announced. Priority override. A single channel opened. A voice poured into the hall. Cold. Calm. Certain. Elia of Earth, it said. Your hiding ends today. Surrender yourself and the Concord will be spared. Every eye turned to her. She stepped forward, just one step, until she stood at the very edge of the platform. The light caught her crown, making it gleam faintly. I will not run, she said, but I will not surrender. The voice paused. You are small, it said. You are tired. You cannot stop us. Elia smiled. Maybe, she said, but you already tried to break me once. And I am still here. The transmission cut. Outside the station, far beyond sight, engines burned brighter. Inside the hall, the smallest ruler stood smiling, while the stars held their breath. The hall had quieted, but the tension did not fade. Every delegate stared at Elia, the small human ruler who had refused to obey a fleet that no one had seen arrive. Her smile remained soft and calm, yet those close enough could see the strain in her eyes, the weight of a lifetime she had carried on such a small frame. Arlen remained behind her, steady and alert, ready for anything. One of the delegates, a being whose skin shone with green light and whose head seemed to pulse with every word, spoke. You claim to know this fleet? Explain. Why are they after you? Elia's gaze swept the hall. She could feel the curiosity and doubt, the fear and mockery in equal measure, but she did not falter. She took a small breath and began, her voice gentle but clear. Years ago, before humanity was even invited to the stars, we were captured, tested. Some of us did not survive. I was one of the few who did. A murmur passed through the hall. The delegates leaned in, some skeptical, some intrigued. Elia's story had the hall's full attention. They wanted to see how far a human could endure pain and fear, how far our minds could be pushed. They tried to break us. I survived. That is why they come for me now. Her smile never wavered, though her hands clenched slightly under her sleeves. Kova, the alien strategist who had been silent until now, stepped forward. Kova had many eyes that scanned constantly, analyzing every movement, every expression. Your claim is remarkable, human. Records of such events are sparse and mostly lost. Yet your demeanor suggests truth. Why have you not sought retaliation? Elia turned her head, meeting each eye in the hall. Because survival is not revenge. Because mercy is more powerful than hatred. I do not seek to destroy. I seek to live. To protect my people. To protect humanity. The room remained tense, but slowly some of the doubt began to fade. The delegates had seen many species claim courage, claim wisdom, but few had the calm, quiet certainty that Elia carried. Even Kova, always questioning, nodded slightly, though suspicion still lingered. Suddenly the hall shivered as a distant alarm sounded, vibrating through the floors and walls. The unidentified fleet had moved closer. Images appeared in the air, showing massive ships, larger than anything in the Concord registry. They hovered at the edge of the system, silent but threatening. Alia's small form did not retreat. She stepped closer to the edge of the platform, eyes narrowing. "They are testing us," she said softly. "They want to see if fear can control us. They underestimate what humans can endure." Arlen placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "And if they do not stop?" Elia did not answer immediately. Instead, she lifted her crown, turning it slightly so it caught the light. "Then we show them that even the smallest can stand taller than empires." The delegates looked at each other, uncertain. The human ruler spoke of bravery, of endurance, in a voice that seemed too gentle for the threat outside. And yet there was something in it that made even the hardened beings of the Concord pause. Suddenly, Kova stepped forward, ignoring the protocol. "If what you say is true, then perhaps humanity has secrets beyond what we know. Show us these defenses. Show us how you will protect yourselves." Elia's eyes flickered to Arlen. He nodded slightly, giving her the silent support she needed. She raised a hand, and the human fleet hidden in distant orbits activated. Light flared across the observation screens, and ships moved as if waking from long sleep. Maneuvers executed with precision, forming defensive patterns that no one in the hall had expected. Gasps and murmurs spread among the delegates. "Impressive," one said quietly. "They have hidden strength." Another delegate frowned. "They cannot sustain this. Their ships are fewer, smaller, weaker." Elia smiled, gently, almost sadly.
Oh.
"You underestimate the human spirit. You look at size, at number, and forget will. Will shapes reality stronger than any weapon." The communication channels crackled suddenly. The unknown fleet spoke again, their voice cold and metallic. "Human Elia, surrender. Resistance is futile. You cannot withstand us." Her smile did not change. "Perhaps, but you already tried to break me once. You did not succeed. This time you will see the strength of those you thought weak." Outside, the unknown fleet hesitated, ships shifting but not advancing. Inside, the hall remained tense, all attention on the tiny crowned human who seemed to radiate power far greater than her size. Kova and the other delegates whispered among themselves, unsure if this was diplomacy, madness, or courage beyond comprehension. Arlen stepped closer to Elia. whispering, "They will not stop until they try everything. Are you ready?" She nodded slightly. "I have no choice. But I am not afraid. Not anymore." The hall remained frozen in suspense as both human and alien eyes followed her every move. And while the unknown fleet lingered at the system's edge, waiting for her next action, Elia's calm smile held the promise of defiance, of survival, and of secrets the galaxy had not yet understood. The warning alarms echoed again, louder this time, shaking the massive hall. The unknown fleet was moving closer. Outside, stars flickered as if startled, and distant moons reflected the red glare of engines preparing for battle. Inside, every eye stayed on the tiny human ruler, Elia, whose soft smile did not falter, though the room's tension pressed against her like a heavy weight. Kova, the green-lit strategist, studied her closely. "You say you survived before, that your people endured horrors beyond measure, but what kept you alive? Strength alone cannot save the weak." Elia tilted her head slightly, her gaze calm. "Hope, memory, and will. When all else fails, these remain. And when they are gone, one must create more." A murmur ran through the hall. The delegates had seen courage, had seen cleverness, had seen displays of strength, but never had they seen such quiet certainty in someone so small. Even the most skeptical eyes softened, if only a little. Arlen stepped closer, his presence solid and grounding. "They will not stop," he said quietly, more to her than the hall. "They will push until you break." Elia looked at him briefly, her smile faltering for a heartbeat. Then she straightened, lifting her head higher than before. "Then I will show them they cannot break what they cannot measure." The alarms shifted into a new tone. Sensors on the hall's walls and ceiling began displaying massive readings from the approaching fleet. Ships larger than any Concord vessel appeared on the screens, each one silent, like predators waiting in the dark. Elia stepped forward. For a moment, she looked smaller than ever, the crown on her head a faint glint in the vast chamber. "They are testing us," she said quietly, almost to herself. "They want to see if fear can control us." One of the delegates, taller than any human, moved forward, her voice low and questioning. "Do you truly believe your people can withstand such a force?" Elia's smile returned, soft but unwavering. "It is not belief. It is knowing. Humans endure. We adapt. We survive. And when we cannot, we find a way to endure still." The unknown fleet transmitted again, their voice harsh and commanding. "Surrender, Elia of Earth. Resistance will only prolong suffering." "You cannot stop what comes." Her answer came without hesitation. "I will not surrender. I have survived before, and I am still here. You will learn that weakness is not measured by size, but by resolve." The hall went silent. Every delegate watched, unsure how to respond. Arlen felt the weight of history pressing down, but beside him, Elia remained poised. Her courage was quiet, yet unshakable. Kova's eyes narrowed, scanning the human records that had been allowed to be seen. "If what you claim is true," Kova said, "then humanity has hidden strength, tactics unknown to the galaxy. Reveal them, or face annihilation." Elia raised her hand. Light flared from the human ships scattered across distant orbits. They moved in precise formations, responding to commands that seemed almost instinctive. No other species in the hall had predicted such coordination. The humans had hidden their strength, not in size or firepower, but in preparation, endurance, and skill. Gasps echoed across the chamber. "Unbelievable." whispered one delegate. They are stronger than we thought. Elia smiled faintly, a mixture of pride and sorrow. It is not about strength alone. It is about the heart and mind of those who endure. You may see ships, numbers, tactics, but the will to survive is far more powerful. Outside, the unknown fleet paused, unsure of the human capabilities. Inside, the hall remained tense, every observer calculating, judging, and fearing what they could not fully see. Arlen spoke softly, just for her to hear. They will come. The test is not over. Elia nodded slightly, her small hand brushing the crown on her head. Then we will be ready, always ready. They will see that we are not to be measured by appearance alone. The unknown fleet's voice crackled again. You cannot hide, Elia. You are alone. You cannot win. Her smile did not change. Alone? Perhaps, but even alone, I carry all those who survived with me. I carry humanity. That is not weakness. That is power. The hall fell silent. Even the most doubtful delegates paused, realizing that the human ruler, so small, so unassuming, held the courage of a species and the strength of will that could not be measured by size or number. And outside, the unknown fleet hesitated, uncertain, waiting to see if this tiny figure would crumble or redefine what it meant to survive. The alarms rang endlessly across the massive hall, vibrating through walls and floors like a drum of warning. The unknown fleet had advanced, their ships casting long shadows against distant moons and stars. Inside, Elia stood small but resolute, her crown glinting faintly in the hall's pale light. Her smile remained calm, but those closest could see the strain hidden behind it. Arlen stayed near her, watching her carefully. He had seen fear, loss, and triumph many times in his life, but even he felt the weight of the coming battle pressing on them all. He leaned close, whispering, "They will try everything to break us. Be ready." Elliot nodded. "I have prepared, Arlen. But even if I fall, humanity will not." A medic named Loon moved forward cautiously. She had followed humanity's path through countless crises, healing wounds and offering comfort where others could not. She studied Elia, seeing the subtle signs of fatigue and strain in her tiny frame. "You have pushed yourself too far," Loon said softly. "Your body cannot endure this alone."
Elia's eyes met Loon's, the soft smile remaining.
"I do not rely on my body alone. My mind, my will, and those who trust me are stronger than any pain." Outside, the fleet began firing warning shots at nearby moons. Huge explosions rocked the surfaces, shaking debris into orbit. The threat was clear. They were testing humanity's limits. Arlen and Elia coordinated quickly. Human ships moved with precision, forming protective patterns around inhabited worlds. Civilians were evacuated first, ships shuttling silently through space. Each move cost tactical advantage, but humanity's leaders had learned that preserving life was the true measure of strength. The unknown fleet broadcast images of human worlds burning, intending to break morale. Still, Elia did not waver. Her commands were clear, calm, and steady, even as fatigue pressed on her small frame. Each order was precise, saving lives while maintaining defense. Loon monitored her vitals closely. "Elia," she said quietly, "you cannot continue like this. If you collapse, the fleet may break through." Elia took a deep breath. "Then I must not collapse. They will see that the smallest can stand tallest." Time stretched. The battle was not yet direct, but the tension was suffocating. Human fleets moved in patterns designed to confuse and delay the enemy. Elia's commands were short, clear, and effective. Every small decision made a difference. every choice a risk. Suddenly she faltered, her small frame bending slightly under the weight of exhaustion. Arlen caught her instinctively. The hull froze, human ships in orbit momentarily halting as if waiting for her to regain composure. Loon rushed to her side, monitoring her signs, but even she was cautious, knowing Elia's will was a force beyond measurement. Elia straightened, supported by Arlen. She lifted her crown, letting it catch the light, and spoke. Even when I fall, humanity rises. You will learn that life is more than ships, weapons, or strategy. It is endurance, it is courage, it is hope. Outside, the enemy fleet hesitated. They had expected humans to crumble, to panic, to beg for mercy. Instead, they saw resilience, a network of minds and wills, stronger than they had imagined. The smallest human had directed this effort, carrying the hopes of her species, the crown on her head a symbol of survival and defiance. The enemy fleet loomed closer, massive shapes in the blackness, each one larger than the fleet's humanity had ever commanded. The tension in the hall was thick, almost suffocating. Every eye, alien and human alike, followed the smallest ruler who had refused to bow, who had carried her people through danger before, and now again. Elia lifted her hand, small but commanding. Every human ship responded instantly, moving in formations that seemed impossible to coordinate. Her orders were not shouted but spoken with calm precision, each one carrying the weight of countless lives. Alan watched her carefully, feeling the strain in her posture. Elia, they will not stop until they break through. Are you ready for the final push? Her eyes met his, steady and unwavering. I have no choice, but humanity stands with me. That is strength enough. The enemy fleet fired their first real assault, beams of energy slicing through space. Debris scattered, and some human ships were hit, but the formations held. Elia directed reinforcements from hidden positions, tiny ships moving with the accuracy of a precise weapon. The hall remained tense, every delegate observing. Kova whispered to another, "They have hidden capabilities. Human strategy is unlike anything in the Concord." Loon monitored Elia closely. Every beat of her heart, every sign of fatigue, every tremor in her body spoke of limits being pushed. Elia, she said softly, you cannot continue at this pace. Your body cannot take much more. Elia smiled faintly, a mixture of fatigue and resolve. The body is small. The will is infinite. You will see. The enemy fleet broadcast a warning, threatening to destroy human worlds if their attacks were resisted. Elia paused, eyes narrowing. They are bluffing.
They test fear, not reason.
We will not falter. Arlen placed the crown back on her head, a symbolic gesture and a literal one, connecting hidden networks prepared for such a moment. The human ships shifted, executing maneuvers beyond known limits, confusing the enemy fleet. Elia took one deep breath, her small form trembling slightly. Then she spoke to the fleet directly, her voice calm but powerful. I do not wish to destroy you.
Leave our worlds and you will live. Threaten life and you will find resistance you cannot imagine.
The enemy ignored the offer, preparing a final strike. The hall waited, every being watching the smallest human who bore the weight of her species. Elia's hands tightened around the crown, and her mind reached through the network of ships and commands, directing a coordinated strike, unlike any before. Energy flowed through the fleet, each ship moving as if controlled by a single mind. The enemy flagship advanced, ready to fire its ultimate weapon, but the human network anticipated every move. Elia's calm smile, her quiet courage, and her small crown held the key to survival, a force that would change the outcome of the battle and the future of humanity. The final moment arrived with quiet intensity. The enemy fleet hovered at the edge of the system, massive and imposing, ready to fire their ultimate weapon. Human ships held positions around the worlds they had sworn to protect, each one linked through a hidden network. At the center stood Elia, small and crowned, carrying the weight of her people and their survival. Arlen stood close, steady and supportive, but even he felt the tension pressing on them. Lune monitored Elia's condition, noticing how close her body was to exhaustion. Her heart raced, her hands trembled, yet her smile remained, faint but real. Elia lifted her crown, letting it catch the pale light of the hall. The crown was not merely a symbol, it was a key, a connection to every ship, every command center, every human mind prepared for this moment. She felt the pulse of the network, the will of humanity flowing through her. The enemy flagship charged its weapon, ignoring her earlier offer of mercy. Energy built, bright and terrible, aimed at the human world she had sworn to protect. The hall fell silent, every eye fixed on the small figure who would decide the fate of many. Elia took a steady breath. She would not flee. She would not surrender. She would not allow her people to perish. With hands small but determined, she directed the flow of energy through her crown and into herself, channeling it into the network of human ships. Every vessel moved in unison, executing impossible maneuvers that confused the enemy and redirected the destructive force. The flagship's weapon discharged, but the energy met the human network, diffused and absorbed. The weapon collapsed, harmlessly dispersing into space, while the human fleet remained intact. The enemy fleet, stunned by the unexpected resistance, faltered, unable to comprehend the resilience of a species they had underestimated. Elia's body sagged under the effort, barely conscious, yet she smiled. It was no longer a mask, but the real, quiet triumph of survival and defiance. Arlen and Lune rushed to her side, steadying her, their relief palpable. The Concord Hall erupted in astonished murmurs. Delegates who had doubted humanity now saw the truth. Courage, will, and endurance could surpass even the greatest weapon. Kova whispered, "They are not conquerors." Slowly, the enemy fleet withdrew, their confidence broken. Humanity had not only survived, but had shown strength that could not be measured by size, numbers, or firepower alone. The smallest crowned ruler had led them, her courage and wisdom shaping the outcome. Elia, though exhausted, lifted her head slightly, offering a faint, real smile. The hall, once full of doubt and skepticism, now watched her with respect and awe. Humanity had not bowed. They had endured. And their ruler, small in form but immense in spirit, had carried them through the trial. Far beyond known space, the remnants of the enemy fleet retreated, uncertain and wary. The galaxy had witnessed the tiny crowned one who hid her pain behind a smile, and her legend began to grow. The whispers of her courage traveled across systems, inspiring countless beings. Though exhausted and barely standing, Elia remained the symbol of endurance. She had shown that even the smallest could stand taller than empires, that hope and willpower could reshape destiny. The Concord, the galaxy, and all who watched knew that humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, but as a species whose strength lay in survival, courage, and the quiet power of the human spirit.